राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी
जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी
गोपी जन वल्लभ जयो गिरिवरधारी जयो गिरिवरधारी
जय गोपी जन वल्लभ जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी
यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजना
यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन
यमुना तीरा
तीरा वनचारी
यमुना तीरा
तीरा वनचारी
जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी
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 श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद
जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे हरे
कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे।
जय राधा माधव राधा माधव राधे।
जय राधा माधव राधा माधव राधे।
जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेवा सुभद्रा माँ जय सुदर्शन।
जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेव जय सुभद्रा जय सुदर्शन।
जय गोपाल देव जय गोपाल देव गोपाल देव जय गोपाल देव।
जय गोपाल देव जय गोपाल देव गोपाल देव जय गोपाल देव।
जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय।
जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय।
जय प्रभुपदा श्रील प्रभुपदा।
जय प्रभुपाद श्रील प्रभुपाद।
जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 प्रभुपाद।
जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 प्रभुपाद।
जय श्रीपाद जय गुरुदेवा श्रीपाद जय गुरुदेवा।
जय श्रीपाद जय गुरुदेवा जय श्रीपाद जय गुरुदेवा।
जय जय श्रीपाद 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 श्रीपाद।
जय जय श्रीपाद 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 श्रील श्रीपाद।
जय गुरु महाराज श्रील श्रीपाद की जय। जय जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। संवेद गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। जय हो। So we are continuing our Bhagavatam Seva. We are reading from the 7th canto of the Bhagavatam, 3rd chapter, verse number 11. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya
Narayanam Namaskritya
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Tato Jayam Mudiraye
Tato Jayamudiraye
Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu
Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavate Uttama Sloke
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhaktir Bhavati Naishiki.
Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki.
So this is verse number 11. Anyatedam vidasyeham
Anyathedam vidhasyeham
ayata purvam ojasa
yatha purvamojasa
kimanye kala nirdhutai
kimanyai kala nidhutai
कल्पान्ते वैष्णवादिभिः
कल्पान्ते वैष्णवादिभिः
अन्यतेदं विधास्येऽहम्
अन्यथेदं विधास्येऽहम्
यथा पूर्वं भोजसा
यथा पूर्वमोजसा
किमन्यै कालनिर्धूतये
किमन्यै कालनिर्धूतये
कल्पान्ते वैष्णवादिभिः.
कल्पान्ते वैष्णवादिभिः.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Jai Prabhupada ki jai. By dint of my severe austerities, I shall reverse the results of pious and impious activities. I shall overturn all the established practices within this world. Even Dhruvaloka will be vanquished at the end of the millennium. Therefore, what is the use of it? I shall prefer to remain in the position of Brahma. Purport by Prabhupada. Hiranyakashipu's demoniac determination was explained to Lord Brahma by the demigods, who informed him that Hiranyakashipu wanted to overturn all the established principles. After executing severe austerities, people within this material world are promoted to the heavenly planets. But Hiranyakashipu wanted them to be unhappy, suffering because of the diplomatic feelings of the demigods, even in the heavenly planets. So Hiranyakashipu wanted them to be unhappy even in the heavenly planets. He wanted those who were harassed in this world by material transactions to be unhappy for the very same reason, even in the heavenly planets. Indeed, he wanted to introduce such harassment everywhere. One might ask how this would be possible, since the universal order has been established since time immemorial. But Hiranyakashipu was proud to declare that he would be able to do everything by the power of his tapasya. He even wanted to make the Vaishnava's position insecure. These are some of the symptoms of asuric determination. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana-salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Swarupdamodar Swaminiti Namine Nama Sadbhaktamanaye Manipurudbhavaya Cha Prabhupada Satvani Prachara Niratayate Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravane Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarurvyasya Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Sankirtanam Yasya Sarva Papa Pranashanam Pranamo Dukkha Shamanastam Namami Harim Param Sansara Sagare Magnam Deenam Mam Karunanite Karmagrahya Grihitangam Mam Uddhara Bhavarnavat Srimad Bhagavatam Pratyaksha Krishna Evahi Svikritosi Mayanata Mukyartam Bhavasagare. So we are in this chapter where the demigods are explaining to Lord Brahma how asuric, how demoniac are Hiranyakashipu is, what kind of mentality, frame of mind he has. So they're enlisting help actually that Lord Brahma should do something about the situation. And they're saying actually that this person is thinking that by his severe austerities, he will reverse the results of pious and impious activities. Actually, whatever pious or impious activities is said, karmana deva netrena, everything is going on under the supervision of all these 33 crore demigods. But when one becomes a devotee of the Lord, then the super soul, Lord Vishnu or Lord Krishna takes over. The spiritual master and the Lord, they take over. It becomes a personal affair. But otherwise, these demigods, 33 crores of demigods who are in charge of management, they award the fruit of results actually. The ultimate issue, it is the Lord who awards, but these people are entrusted to that management. But what he is thinking is that, he will supersede all these 33 crore demigods and then, he can reverse all this, the fruits of the fruit of activities, whatever fruit of activities the people are performing, I will turn everything topsy-turvy, upside down on its head. This is what he's determining. So the demigods are reporting this to Lord Brahma. Then they are saying, all the established practices I shall overturn. Parampara, there is this parampara, right? Shukra parampara, and then we have the Guru parampara. So whatever procedures are being followed in either of the paramparas, all of these things, that the standard procedure, generation after generation after generation, which everybody is doing, all these things that I will overturn. And then he is saying, Kalpante, at the end of the millennium, even Dhurvaloka will be finished. Actually, Dhurvaloka is a Vaikuntha planet. Although it is within the material atmosphere, it is still considered, it is not considered, it is a spiritual planet, it is a Vaikuntha Loka. So it cannot be actually destroyed in that sense. But he is saying, even Durvaloka will be vanished, so what is the use of it? Means that he plans to destroy everything. Basically, that is what Hiranyakashipu is trying to say. And then, I shall prefer to remain in the position of Brahma. So the demigods are saying, this person, Hiranyakashipu, is such a demon. He got all these boons from you, and now he wants to take over your position also. And the funny fact is, to achieve Brahma's position, the post of Lord Brahma, Brahma is actually a post. It is not the name of a person. Brahma, like Indra is a padavi. It is a post. So same way, Brahma, it's a post actually. The most pious person within the universe is generally granted the post of Lord Brahma. And if there is nobody to accept that post, then the Lord himself expands as a Guna avatar and he takes over the position of Lord Brahma. And in the normal way, if a living entity has to come to the post of Lord Brahma, then he has to perform for 100 years without any mistake. He has to perfectly execute Varnashrama Dharma for 100 lifetimes, not 100 years, for 100 lifetimes. So you can imagine, even following Varnashram properly in one lifetime, how difficult it can be. You imagine for 100 lifetimes, if one follows it very nicely, then one becomes eligible to achieve the post of Lord Brahma. That's how much piety it takes to become Lord Brahma. And the thing is, if one is following this established Varnashrama Dharma established by the Lord, then one becomes eligible for that post. That is a basic qualification actually. And Hiranyakashipu is thinking, by doing austerities and in this one lifetime itself, I will be able to overcome all of this. I can completely reverse these things, and I can do what is contrary to the established principles. I can do. Basically, what he is saying is that I will do whatever I please, and there is nobody who should question me. If somebody is thinking Lord Brahma will question him, there may be a problem. then I will take over the position of Lord Brahma. If Brahmaji happens to step in, and he tries to disturb the situation, then I will take over Brahma's position. Prabhupada used to give this very funny example, the story of these worshippers of demigods. They are driven by lust, actually. Basically, the idea is they want to sense gratify, and for the gratification, because they don't have power right now to enjoy as much as they want, so they go approach these demigods and they request, you please grant me. Dhanam Dehi, Rupam Dehi, you give me all these boons. Like Hiranyakashipu, he went to Lord Brahma and he was requesting, I want immortality. Ravan requested this to Lord Shiva, I want immortality. It's not possible. Brahmaji refused and Shivji also refused. But they are, the brain is so critical that they try to overcome that in an indirect way. And Hiranyakashipu, he is asking all these various different boons from Brahma so that, he feels secure. He thinks that I have achieved immortality. Same way, Ravan also. And Shivji said, okay, I'll give you a pot of nectar. You keep that nectar in your nabi. So long as that nectar is there within your navel, the umbilical area in the stomach, so long that is there, then you will not die. So, but their whole idea to achieve immortality is simply to upset the natural order or whatever procedures or established rules and regulations which are being followed in the world. They simply want to be a constant source of disturbance to everybody. And why this whole thing starts? Gita is explaining very nicely. Ichcha dvesha samuttena. This combination of these two things, desire, this demoniac desire, this determination, and then dvesha, ichcha dvesha. Dvesha means, developing this kind of enmity because of enviousness. They say, Ravan had 10 heads. And these 10 heads actually were the 6 kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, and matsarya. And then they say man, buddhi, chitta, and like that, these 10 heads were actually were different material features of the creation, actually. So we see how these people, Ravan was very scholarly, actually. He was a very advanced person. And Hiranyakashipu also, he was not an ordinary person. The kind of austerities he did, nowhere you will see within the history of the universe. Such severe austerities. Even the demigods, they don't do this kind of austerities. But in the ultimate issue, why they were doing these austerities, Asuchi Vrata, it's not a proper way of doing that. You're troubling your body so much grievously and then trying to get some result, such kind of Ugra Tapasya. But the result is that Shayayo Jagato Ahita. Shaya means they want to do something destroying. They don't want to do anything permanent. They want to destroy. Jagato Ahita, doing something which is unbeneficial not only to them, but to all the living beings. And specifically here it is mentioned Vaishnavadibi, even those topmost exalted Vaishnavas also. Hiranyakashipu pleased Lord Brahma, and Lord Brahma is a Sampradaya Acharya. He is a pure devotee of the Lord. Ravan, he went and he pleased Lord Shiva. Vaishnavanam yata sambhu. Among all the Vaishnavas, Lord Shivji is considered the greatest, the topmost. So he was able to please a Vaishnava, but even being in the association of a Vaishnava, you see how the mentality works. Today is actually Indra Ekadasi. It's a very auspicious day. And, in the Mahatmya, in the story, where Lord Krishna is relating to Narad Muni, and Narad Muni is saying about the Mahatmya of this Indra Ekadasi to Yudhishthira Maharaj. There is a story of this king. This king's name is Indrasena, very wonderful king. He was taking care of his subjects very nicely. Everything was very wealthy, bountiful in his kingdom. There was all grains. People were all happy. Sufficient gold. The treasury was filled. And most importantly, he was a very nice devotee of the Lord, following all the established principles. So one day, like Narad Muni does usually, all of a sudden Narad Muni came there with all this reddish matted logs and singing very nicely on his veena the names of the Lord. So the king received Narad Muni, offered a lot of praise and welcome because he is such a saintly person. And Narad Muni was inquiring, are all the 7 limbs of your kingdom very nice? By 7 limbs of the kingdom, Narad Muni was saying, are you yourself okay? Are your ministers okay? Is your treasury okay? Is your military force okay? And then, are you doing proper sacrifices? Are the brahmanas properly respected? Are the needs of the people properly met with? These are the 7 limbs of a kingdom. But most importantly, are you doing your occupational duty, which is to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead? And the king said, simply by your appearance here, all these yajna and tapasyas and whatever I'm supposed to do, simply by your presence here, all this is fulfilled. So kindly bless me that I can continue like this. So then Narad Muni is saying, I saw your father actually when I came down from Brahmaloka. I once went and visited Yamaloka. In Yamaraj's Darbar, in that place, I saw your father actually. And your father, he asked me to give you a message. And the message is, because he couldn't follow one Ekadasi properly, he broke the thing fast untimely. So he has to go to hell and suffer. So your father was requesting that you follow this Indra Ekadasi very nicely. You give charity to all the Brahmanas so that he can be relieved. See, the thing is, when somebody comes to an important post, even a simple mistake, it becomes very much magnified. So the king, who is responsible for all these people within this kingdom, if he does something wrong, it is magnified so much because all these people are affected. But at the same time, if the king is very nice, he is doing something good, he also gains, like 8% of all the pious credits that the people within his kingdom are executing. But Hiranyakashipu's intention was to turn everything topsy-turvy. Neither he wanted them to be happy, nor he wanted them to follow any rules and regulations, those who are prescribed in the Shastras. And ultimately, he wanted to be the boss, and exactly what he wanted to do, he wanted. And nobody should question him. If somebody questions him, immediately I'll take over their thing, or destroy them, finish them. So anyway, in this the Ekadasi Mahatmya, our Indrasena, this king, he follows this Ekadasi, and he gives a piety accrued from following the Ekadasi very strictly and giving all to the Brahmanas and worshipping the Supreme Lord. Most importantly, he gives a piety to his father, and his father goes back on a Garuda Vahan immediately back to Vaikuntha Loka. Garuda personally comes and carries the king away. The thing is, normal people, when they give charity on Ekadasi or they follow the Vrata and whatever piety, by doing this tapasya you offer for your ancestors or something, they generally get promoted to the heavenly planets. But if somebody is following this Ekadasi Vrata, which is a devotee of the Lord, and he is doing that, then when this piety is offered, this person actually gets promoted to the spiritual world, not simply going to the heavenly planets. A Vaishnava, a devotee of the Lord, if he does that, then the person goes back to spiritual world. The person who's suffering in hell, he goes back to the spiritual world. It is mentioned in the Brahma Vaivarta Puran. But all these things, Hiranyakashipu wanted to make it topsy-turvy. And in the 16th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna, actually the first 3 verses is describing the Devi Gun. They're like about 15 to 20. Abhayam Sattva Samshuddhir Jnana Yoga Vyavasthiti Dhanam Damasya Yagyasya Swadhyayas Tapa Arjavam Ahimsa Satyam Akrodas Tyagaha Shantir Apaishunam Bhavanti Sampadam Devim. These are the Devi Sampad. But you see, the whole remainder of the chapter, Krishna is describing about the demoniac qualities. Dambo Darpo Bhimanasya Krodaha Parushyameva Cha Agyanam Cha Bijatasya Partha Sampadam Asurim. Dambam, Darpam, pride, conceit, arrogance, harshness, Abhiman, this false ego, this prestige that I'm everything, I can do anything. Agyanam, all because of ignorance. And this ignorance simply comes because of forgetfulness of Krishna itself. As soon as you forget Krishna, you are in ignorance. Agyanam cha bijatasya partha sampadam asurim. Then Krishna is telling to Arjuna, Devi sampad vimokshaya. This divine qualities will take you towards liberation. Unless you are liberated, you cannot engage in your occupational duty nicely as a servant of the Lord. Because otherwise, you see, in this material world, we are hindered. The soul is crying out for that. The original Sanatana Dharma, how to do service nicely to the Lord. But, he is pulled down by so many other factors. So we have to get liberated from this material sphere. Then we can be, doing our spiritual duties. This is the thing. Otherwise, it becomes very, very difficult actually for a conditioned soul. So anyway, Devi Sampad Vimokshaya Nibandaya Surimata Masucha Sampadam Devim Abhijatosi Pandava. You have all these divine qualities, Arjuna, so don't worry. Krishna is saying. Then Asatyam Pratishtam Te Jagadahur Anishwaram Apparasvara Sambhutam Kimanyat Kama Haitukam. They say this world, there is no controller, there is no God. Everything is because of karma. Because of lusty dealings, everything is being manifest. That's all. Apparaspara Sambhuta means, people, they have physical relation, they produce children, and life is going on. So he's giving all weightage to the Shukra Parampara, but not to the Guru Parampara. So like this whole chapter, actually, Krishna is going one after another, that these people, Aneka Chitta Vibranta, Mohojala Samavrata, Prasakta Kama Bhogeshu Patanti Narake Suchau. Because of bewildered by all these sense gratificatory desires and delusion that, they are the master, they fall down, deeper and deeper into hell. And they do all these kind of horrible activities which are simply meant to destroy, anything beneficial to the people and to the world. Kurvanti ugra karmanaha shayayo jagato ahita kamam ashritya dushpuram dambamana mahan madanvita mohat gritva sadgrahan pravartante asuchivrata Chintam Parimeyam cha Pralayantam Upashita Kamo Pabhoga Parama Etavattiti Nishita. Asha Pasha Shater Baddha Kama Krodha Parayana Ihante Kama Bhogartam Anya Enartha Sanchayan. So many ways, Krishna is describing how these people, because these demoniac qualities are being listed much more prominently than the divine qualities. So, people will start to think that, Krishna is giving more importance to the demoniac quality. But the thing is that, for a devotee, life is very simple. He just wants to please Krishna, and whatever he is doing, it is meant for that, in one direction, This is Vyavasayatmika Buddhi, we say one-pointed direction. But for a person who diverts from that path of devotion, which is his original position, when he becomes, even slightly deviated, then there are 1,001 things. Bahushaka, there are so many branches why you can go and you can exploit material nature, you can exploit people, and you can cause all the damage you can do. And this is how demons think. Abhyasuyaka, simply because they have developed that desire, that determination, demoniac determination, and because this asuya means this enviousness, nature, this enviousness. Mam Atma Paradeheshu, the Lord, who is a super soul, not only in the body of that person, but also in all the living entities, Mam Atma Paradeheshu Pradvishanto Abhyasuyaka. Because of envy of the Supreme Lord, this envy is carried out to all the other human beings and then to all the living entities by default. And there is no remedy for this actually. All the other bad qualities, these enemies like Kamam, Krodham and all, somehow or other, they can be engaged. Even in the spiritual world, those qualities can be somehow, they don't exist, but if they exist, they can be somehow engaged in Krishna Seva and they can be cleared out. But there is no treatment for enviousness, actually. And that enviousness is not allowed in the spiritual world. That's why this material world has been created, where we can be envious of one another. And as soon as this enviousness is gone, this matsarya, one becomes nirmatsara, one becomes non-envious. Immediately, you're in the spiritual world. So the demigods are reporting to Brahma that this person, he has worked so hard, he has taken all these boons from you, but now you see what he is doing. He is envious of you actually. He has used you, and now he is trying to take over your position also. So you please do something about it. So there is this story about this demigod worshipper. I'll just conclude with this small story. So this person was suffering because of poverty. So he went to Kali Mata and he prayed, "Mother, you are very kind. I heard you accept all these sacrifices, wonderful sacrifices. So I'll come and I'll sacrifice this, goat for you." No, he started with a buffalo actually. Yeah, I'll sacrifice one big black buffalo for you. No, you are Mahishasura Mardini. You have killed the buffalo demon. You are so wonderful. So I will sacrifice one big buffalo. You please satisfy my desire. So somehow he was praying very earnestly, and Kali Devi, she was very pleased with him. So she granted him all whatever he desired. Nice wealth, healthy life, wife, children, everything. So then he goes regularly, because Kali Mata has been kind on him. He used to go to the temple. So Kali Devi asked him, you mentioned something about sacrificing a big black buffalo for me. What happened? So he said, oh, I'm in little trouble, but I can maybe sacrifice a goat for you next week. She said, okay, you promised to offer me something, you bring me something. So when the next week came, he's saying, oh, I'm in more trouble. Maybe I'll sacrifice one pig for you. Not a big goat, but pig. And then he went down, I'll sacrifice one chicken for you. And Devi, seeing from a buffalo, it is all the way come down to a small hen. So Devi became upset and said, see, you promised you'll offer me something, I need something. This is what you have offered. At least a fly is there, you have to at least offer a fly. And this rascal, he said, oh, there are so many flies flying around you, why don't you grab one? You have so many hands, why don't you grab one fly? So this is how they are. These people, they use the others, but ultimately it is all for their own benefit, for the name, fame, prestige. And as soon as that person goes against them, they try to destroy that person's happiness by doing whatever they can. So this is the nature of a demon, and they're very determined to do it. The kind of austerities they do it so very powerfully also, much more severe austerities than any normal person can do. Even great demigods can do. They do such severe austerities, but the end result is that because of enviousness, they want to destroy it. They want to take over everything. So unless one comes to the platform of non-enviousness, our material life will continue. But as soon as a person becomes nirmatsara, he develops this quality of non-enviousness, then there will be peace. And then, after peace, there will be happiness. You can gradually make progress on the spiritual level. Otherwise, it's very, very difficult. It's very difficult. So the demigods, all these 33 crore demigods minus one, they are all reporting to Lord Brahma about this situation. You please do something, save us. All people are suffering because of this person. He's such a demon. So I will stop here. Are there any questions, any comments, any suggestions? And thank you very much for your patient listening. And today is Indra Ekadasi. In case those of you who are following, kindly please remember that. Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you. If anyone is having any question regarding today's class, they can raise the hand and ask His Grace Madan Manohar Prabhuji. Yes, Shyam Kishore Prabhuji, please.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mahatma. Dandavad.
You able to hear? So my question is, we see Hiranyakashipu doing so much austerity, and now the verse is going on is about his austerity, how much he is doing, and then he's acquired. His intention is to acquire not so much power and this thing. So my question was regarding austerity. Basically, austerity means we, as a devotee of the Lord also, we do austerity like today is Ekadasi, like some devotees they do fasting or abstaining from rain, some do complete fasting, some do nirjala. So basically, these devotional austerities for the Lord means what are the different benefits, or what is the real purpose of these austerities which are prescribed by the scriptures? If you can.
It's very simple actually. Aradito yadi hari tapasya tatakyam. Na aradito yadi hari tapasya tatakyam. See, the whole idea of doing these austerities is not that you make your heart very hard and immune to all these external things, but rather your heart should be melting with the love of God, the love and affection for the Lord, for His creation, for His children. This is the real purpose of austerities, and to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead with full love. There is this power of austerity which is described in the Shastras is for that. There is a story during the Samudra Manthan, how Lakshmi Devi, she's given the Varamala. She appears from the ocean, right? Milk ocean, when the demons and demigods are churning it. And Lakshmi Devi is given the Varamala. All of them are fighting actually because they all want to marry her. She's a goddess of fortune. Samudra Putri, Lakshmi. So they're all lined up, the demons and the demigods, and they give her the Varamala. You make your own choice where you want to go. So she's going to each and every person and she's describing some quality of that person, and then she puts a garland. I mean, she's supposed to put the garland. But besides describing one good quality, she's also describing one bad quality. So like that, she comes eventually to Lord Vishnu. So when she comes to one particular person who is very austere, she was glorifying that person, saying that You are such a tapasvi. There is nobody who can do tapasya like you. You have earned so much merit. But the thing is that this tapasya has made your heart very hard. So because of that, I am rejecting you. See, when you're doing ugra tapas, severe austerities, then the severity causes some kind of hardness in the heart. The person's heart becomes kind of very hard. But this is not what the austerity is supposed to do. That austerity is supposed to clear away all this hardness and make it such a nice place where Lord Krishna can come and sit immediately. The Lord should feel like, okay, let me go sit there. So if you are doing this austerity, but if that austerity is not to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead or ultimately to please Him, and it is simply making your heart hard, then, Tatakim, what is the point of that austerity? So this is why whatever is prescribed, if the ultimate aim, it is an internal thing. You know why you're doing all these things. You don't have to convince anybody else. अपना औकात, you say कितना गहरा पानी में हम लोग है, खुद को तो मालूम है. We know how much depth we are in. So if you are really doing the austerities for the pleasure of Guru and Krishna, then you will know from the result that person will become very soft-hearted. He will become, paradukke dukhi. As soon as he sees somebody suffering, he will also feel that. But if you're doing it for your own sense gratification, for your own prestige, all these austerities, again, like Hiranyakashipu, you will know. You will not care for the others. And you will be very happy when others are miserable. Bhaktivedanta Thakur is singing, Paradukke Sukhi, by seeing others suffering, oh, I am so happy. That is a demoniac austerity. So you will simply know from the result. One side, your heart becomes very soft, you melt, you really feel others' pain. And the other side, you feel only your pain. And you think that whatever other things, it's a big disturbance. You don't care. You don't really care about others. You become very selfish. But those austerities which are prescribed for the Vaishnavas, it is supposed to guide them towards this thing. How to become non-envious, how to become soft-hearted, how to, be considerate of others' pain, and then ultimately how to become a pure devotee of the Lord. Because without these qualities, it's not possible to become a devotee of the Lord. Sarvair gunair tatra samasate sura. As soon as you take up devotion to the Supreme Personality, actually these qualities and all are supposed to manifest in. Then these austerities are good. Otherwise, it's pointless. You may get some temporary name and fame, some post, some wealth. All these things will be lost in the course of time. But for a devotee, these austerities, they give him imperishable fame. They give him eternal life. They give him eternal knowledge and eternal happiness. This is it. This is the reason why the Shastras say, Yajna dana tapasyaiva pavananam manishinam. Even great personalities who are already even liberated, they cannot give up these things. Even these great exalted Mahatmas, they cannot give up Yajna dana and tapa. They should not give up. Doing some sacrifice, giving some charity, and tapasya. Now Krishna is saying, tapasya is my heart. The devotees who do tapasya, they are my heart. Krishna is saying this. Kya Prabhu? Harish.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. And also one more point was there, means for doing austerity also, like one of the 4 principles, like if you intoxication, one who does intoxication also, they are not able to do what we have heard, like being austere to practice this thing, doing austerity. That is also one criteria. It's difficult for them. Is it so? Or to have the tolerance power, if one doesn't practice austerity.
See, one is already intoxicated, thinking that he is a body and he can enjoy all the facilities. That is a main intoxication. And then, over and above that, the second intoxication comes. So then it becomes really difficult, actually. Unless a person is fully aware that his position is always as an eternal servant of the Lord, it's very difficult actually to continuously execute any kind of austerities. They will find all the loopholes how to escape from that austerity, because they're doubly intoxicated. So one should be very careful actually, to not let this get carried away, be intoxicated by all these power, prestige, name, fame, whatever is being offered. One should be very, very cautious actually. And always pray to the Lord, my Lord, that, don't please allow all these things in my heart, so that I can always be firmly rendering service to you and your devotees. It should be a constant prayer. Always one should be very vigilant like that. It's easy to say, but it's not so easy to actually do it in real life. It becomes very, very difficult. It's very difficult. That's why we are doing all this austerity, so that we can overcome this kind of intoxications. Prabhu. Why did you say intoxication all of a sudden? Shyam Prabhu?
Thank you very much.
Among all the 4 principles, why did you catch intoxication?
What I heard is those who do it, like intoxication, like smoking or liquor, like this. So
Yeah.
for them, it is very difficult to do any kind of austerity, because they are not able to control the senses. That senses always asking for this smoking or intoxication, from time to time. So for them to do any kind of austerity is very difficult. I heard what. Austerity means what? Voluntarily, no, I am fasting for the not 24 hours or like that. So for them it is very difficult, because the mind is dictating. Again, you take a puff, you smoke, or you take a tea, like that. So for them it is very difficult. If they don't stop intoxication, so practicing austerity is very difficult. Like what I heard. Like.
So, if there is time, I can tell one story
Thank
of
you. Thank you,
Prabhupada's.
Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah, Prabhu, we have one more question. Maybe after that, can
Okay.
we?
Yeah.
Yes, Nilmada Prabhuji, please.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Nil Madhav.
So my question is like, our Hiranyakashipu is actually in previous life he is devotee, but now he's became like this. What actually? Okay, Lord's plan is, but it's so much extreme, na?
Yeah. See,
Why is becoming this much enemy?
yeah, anti to God, right? Against the Lord. See, the thing is, the Lord has this desire that he wanted, sometimes the Lord is a person, so he wanted to fight actually. He's sitting lying down there as Mahavishnu in the spiritual world, everything is, all smiley, everybody is happy. And then suddenly the Lord developed this desire to fight. Now, who can the Lord fight with? Who can fight against the Lord? So Jay and Vijay, somehow they understood that, and they were because they wanted to please the Lord, they are servants of the Lord. So they decided to do like that. Otherwise, such kind of behavior, it is practically impossible for those people there, that they will insult Brahmanas, especially qualified ones like the 4 Kumaras. You don't chase children, right? You don't chase children away, even if they are naked. Old men and children, they can do whatever they want and they get away with that, Very elderly people, very old people and very young children, they practically, they can do anything and they can get away with that. And they are Vaikuntha Vasis, Jay and Vijay. Naturally, they should know, these kids are not a problem at all. They should have allowed them. But they made a big issue about that, you are naked, how you can go in. Knowing fully well that these people are not ordinary children, they have come all the way from the material world to the doors of Vaikuntha, all the way up to the spiritual world. So which means they just developed this desire to, to please the Lord by fighting. And they were the most, strong bodyguards of the Lord. And then, somehow this arrangement was made. And the Lord said that you can go for 7 lifetimes as nice devotees and you can remain there in the material world and come back. or 3 lifetimes as, very powerful enemies, and then you can come back. What do you prefer? The Lord gave them a choice. So they could have easily picked up the choice of remaining for 7 lifetimes as nice devotees. But they understood the Lord wanted to fight, so they said, we cannot be separated from you for so long. 7 lifetimes in the material world is too much for us. 3 lifetimes we will fight with you, we'll come back. So this is just simply the arrangement of the Lord. Otherwise, there's a saying, even the leaves, they don't fall from Vaikuntha. It's an eternal world, everything is there eternally. So these things, they don't happen, but simply for the satisfaction of the Lord, this is a pastime. They are behaving in that way. And Ravan, although like you take the example of Ravan, this is Hiranyakashipu, next birth he became Ravan, right? So this Ravan was such a great scholar actually that Lord Ram, after defeating him, he told Lakshman, you go there and you learn all this from him. You can learn from him so much, you go ask him, get some lessons from him. And Lakshman went and stood near the head of Ravan, and Ravan didn't reply anything. So again, Lakshman returned back and told Ram, I went there, but he said, if you're going to learn something, you go stand near the feet of the person like that. And he told him to go back again. So then Lakshman went, and then he stood near the feet of Ravan. Then Ravan told him 3 things, very important things actually. Ravan said, like, Shubhasya Sikram, any good activity you do it, but any bad thing you delay. Like we say, you delay sense gratification as much as possible, like that. And then he said, don't underestimate your enemy. And then there's one more there, I don't remember now. So you see, these people, although they were, they were professing to be against the Lord, they were all exalted in so many ways, actually. Ravan has written a Ravan Samhita. He was able to please Lord Shiva. Pleasing a Vaishnava means what? You're pleasing the Supreme Lord, actually. Yasya prasadat Bhagavad prasad. He was a very good ruler. Lanka flourished under his rule. He made the whole Lanka golden Lanka. And he was trying to build a staircase all the way to heaven. Can you imagine the kind of, so they're not ordinary people. But just because the Lord wanted that, so, they perform this pastime. That's about it. Otherwise, there is no reason why they should all of a sudden become like that. Okay?
Hare Krishna. One thing I couldn't understand is Lord is Shrudam Sarva, he is well-wisher of everyone, right?
Yeah.
So, but now, because of Lad's plan, we'll see all Brahmanas, everyone is apparently suffering. For how this contrast we can address.
See, everybody is thinking of the Lord is thinking about the welfare of everybody, but is everybody thinking about the welfare of the Lord? So those who are not thinking, the Lord wanted to give them a wake-up call, and so all this arrangement happened. You can always see things from 2 different perspectives, right? You can think that, oh, Krishna is doing all this nonsense and he is creating all this problem. And then there is the other side of the coin. Krishna is creating all this so that you can get a chance to give up all your nonsense. It depends what you choose. When I was like new in the movement, I always used to, think like that. All the fault is on him. He's the one who's creating me. He's the one who's created this material world. He's the one who's caused all the problems. Everything he. But what about me? What are you doing? It's very convenient to shift the blame all completely on him, and this person is supreme, so he's the one who's making all the supreme mistakes. But what about you? So that is the thing. Whatever the Lord does, there cannot be any mistake in that. Krishna is apapa viddham. He is faultless, actually. You cannot find any mistake or fault in him. And even if there is something, there should be some higher reason for whatever the Lord is doing. So, we like to squarely place all the blame on his shoulders that Sarva Karana Karanam, he's a cause of all causes, he's a cause of all miseries. Then, what are you doing? What is your contribution to that? So devotees, they don't think like that. They think in a very positive way that the Lord is doing this arrangement so that I can learn from that. All the suffering is there in the material world, so let me get out from this place. Let me leave everything. Let me go back to the spiritual world, and there nobody will come and disturb me like this. The thinking, that's all. The consciousness, we have to change. That's about it. You become a devotee, Vishwam Purna Sukhayate. Even this material world will be spiritual world actually. There's no problem. But if you're not a devotee, even if you go to, like Vaikuntha Loka, you will be in hell. Like, you don't go if you're not a devotee. But just in case that happens, you will not be comfortable there. This is what. So ultimately, it is a consciousness. So Mahaprabhu is saying, Manmura Vrindavan. My mind is Vrindavan actually. If you are able to place Krishna there in your mind, you are in the spiritual world, wherever you are. There is no doubt about that. We are working towards that kind of frame of consciousness, how to be aware like that. Whatever situation is there, we see that, Krishna is doing with it. Krishna is dealing with it. It's Krishna's blessings actually. It's a Lord's blessings. Yeah?
Yeah, okay.
I know you're not satisfied,
I have
but
one
don't
more
worry.
question, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I have next question is like, in previous lokas we heard that Hiranyakashipu, because he's doing so many austerities, fire, this so much heat is coming from his and all here. So I just wanted to, maybe it's silly question, but I want to ask, like, if Hiranyakashipu is doing tapasya on earth, right? He's not doing in heavenly planet. So much fire, so much heat. How it is possible? Like, see, for sun, since so many things are happening, nuclear reactions, so much energy, we can understand heat coming. We can but he is running on earth goddess. Hare Krishna. You
Voice
want
is
to-
breaking, bro. We are not able to hear you completely.
Okay. So my question is like, since Hiranyakashipu has earthly body, how he is able to generate this much heat and how he is able to not burn himself? Hare Krishna. And how this much temperature is able to generate, so the demigods are getting fear. Hare Krishna.
See, that is a power of austerities. It's a power of austerities. Simply, Prabhupada was saying, if you can remain a brahmachari your whole life, you become so strong, you develop this vaksiddhi. Whatever you say will happen. This is simply the power of brahmacharya. And he was saying that Mahatma Gandhi became such a powerful leader because, after a certain age, 40, 50, he became a brahmachari. So simply just controlling something can cost you so much. You imagine how much this person was controlling and doing austerities, standing with his foot raised, right? Not like normal standing position, but he was standing on his tips of the toes, like ballet dancers. His hands were raised to the heavens, and he was looking up. It's not that the fire didn't burn. Actually, his whole body was burned. There was no flesh on his body. The soul, life air, was being circulated within the bones of Hiranyakashipu. Because that was Satyuga, it was not an ordinary time period. You should understand, people have a long lifespan also. And it was possible because of this such severe austerities, the Lord agrees to give you all these things. It's not a problem. If you want something that bad and you're working that hard for it, Krishna will definitely supply. So when Lord Brahma, he became so much, seeing that person's austerity and seeing how that fire came is because of this austerity. The fire comes like that. Like Dhruva Maharaj, in 6 months, he was doing so much austerity. When he closed he stopped breathing, right? He controlled the breath. the whole universe actually became, breathless. They couldn't breathe. That austerity, it somehow raises you to a very elevated platform. And because Dhruva Maharaj was a devotee, he was able to merge his consciousness with the supreme consciousness. So when he did that and he stopped his breathing, then the whole entire universe, it stopped breathing. Basically, it's like somebody blocked Krishna's nose. And this kind of austerities, it merited that kind of fire emanating from his head, which could burn the thing. This is a power, actually. Somebody does austerities. The material aspect of it. How the person is able to do, I don't know. This is a science, actually. You can manipulate all the elements, earth, water, fire, all these cosmic ingredients. You can manipulate. There are scientists who do that, the atomic energy. How you do atomic energy, you tell me. Atom is so small. How they break the atom, how they cause this fission and fusion, how they do all that. And they are generating so much energy, right? They can destroy a planet just like that. One bomb, it can destroy this entire Earth planet. If one small, bomb can do that, you imagine one big person, one big person like Hiranyakashipu. The person, when he used to walk, he used to shake the entire Earth. Ravan was trying to lift the entire Himalaya mountains with Devi, Parvati and Shivji. Can you imagine these things? So they're not ordinary people, actually. That is one thing. The other thing is that austerity gives you power, and that is a fact. Any austerity you do, whether it is with good intention or bad intention, it definitely gives you some kind of power, some kind of siddhis they come. But the thing is, if you are doing that austerity for a good purpose, the results are nice. You become a devotee of the Lord. But otherwise, you cause all these problems, like Hiranyakashipu was doing. Destroy all the Brahmanas, hermitage, saintly people, persecute them, kill them, all these things. Same way, the scientists are doing, You can make a bomb to destroy something, or you can use that in an atomic reactor and you can supply energy to the whole city. Both the things are possible. So maybe some of our Maharajas can add something to that, because I don't think, even I'm not happy with my answer. I don't know how he is able to do all that, but austerities, they give you some power. There should be some natural laws within the universe that if a person is doing all these things, then, this should be handed over to him, something like that. There should be some laws.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Yeah, maybe we can conclude for the day. We can discuss some other time.
जय गुरु महाराज श्रील श्रीपाद की जय, जय जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, जय ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, जय बीए भक्तवृंद की जय, एंड इंद्र एकादशी महामहोत्सव की जय. हरे कृष्ण. Thank you, Guru.
Grace Mother Manohar Prabhu ki jai. Thank you.
Shri Prabhu Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.